people can see me. Okay, I'll get off then. I'll be back soon. This was a test of a different way to come into the live stream, and I'll be back soon. Okay, there we go. Now there's sound, right on time for sound. So for those of you who were here early, thank you for your eagerness, and glad we were able to test that before things really started. Here I am in a new room. So there's some nice angles and this kind of strange roof shape here. So this may be my space from now on. I hope the quality of my Wi-Fi connection here is good. Maybe in the background, Jordan, you'll be able to tell me how my connection is, because I hope this is going to be a nice spot where our future drawing sessions together can take place. Anisha's here, Nikira, a few other people apparently. Clive is here, awesome. Nice to have you here. I'm happy to be here. It's been a wonderful day in Rheinhausen. It's the first day with the entire family that Kira and I have both had the day off, and we've spent it all together with the kids. Hi Hilda, nice to have you here. Yeah, so where's everyone joining from? I see there are a few other people who haven't said hi yet. That's fine, no pressure. Karen's here from Los Angeles, awesome. It's such a cool way to get out and hang out internationally. Annette from Denmark, awesome. Thank you for being here. Yeah, it's been another wild week of moving in, building furniture. We are getting settled. Thank you for asking, Karen. It's Icon's 7th birthday tomorrow. So there's always something happening, which is exciting. Dean's here from London. Excellent. Stina, hello. Brenda from Maryland. Jay from London. Cool. Thank you all for tuning in. Shannon's here from Maryland too. Shannon and Brenda, do you know each other? And Tori's here. Hi. Tori's our special guest today. Yes, I was just saying tomorrow is Icon's 7th birthday, so that's exciting, and we've been exploring our new home, and it feels like a really good move. We've come to a pretty special place, which I wasn't even really aware of before we arrived here. So there's all sorts of wonderful things to explore here, and perhaps new ink-making possibilities to be discovered. So I'm really looking forward to that. And for today, really looking forward to drawing Tori, and Tori is here. Thank you very much for joining. And we have this really super nice photo to work from. Victoria's a wonderful artist who's got a bunch of really nice reference photos on Sketchy, and definitely check out Tori's work on Sketchy and Instagram. So much cool, inspiring stuff. I'm always happy to see your posts. And a few words from Tori before we get drawing. Make taking care of yourself a top priority. Be gentle with yourself and kind to others. Tell the people you love how much they mean to you. Thank you very much, Tori, for sharing your words of wisdom with us. It's such a pleasure to draw you today. So we'll switch over here to my workspace. It's already past 1 p.m, so here we go. Yeah, thank you, Tori. I'm really looking forward to drawing you. I was thinking today, last week, at some point, like half an hour into the drawing, I felt like my drawing didn't have the freshness that I kind of like when I'm starting my drawings, which was interesting. And I think I managed to end up with something I was happy with, but I'm not sure if any of you noticed along the way, but I was kind of like, this is kind of lacking some of the life that I feel I get in my quicker drawings. So I thought today it could be cool just to start with just a quick pencil drawing. And in April's 30 Faces, 30 Days, Vin Ganapati did this really cool blob drawing. It was also in the portrait party recently, where he just did like a quick, maybe even blind contour drawing he did, and then worked into it, which I think is a pretty cool thing to do. So a special treat today, I'm going to start with a pencil, which I don't normally do, and you can all feel free to do the same, just to come up with a loose drawing and try and keep some of that life. I think they're so dynamic, these loose, quick drawings and sketches that we do sometimes. So I thought that would be a fun way to start today with this lovely reference photo. So let's do it. Where am I going to start today? You've got some wonderful glasses. Thank you for wearing glasses. The chin, for some reason, drawn to the intersection of the hand and the chin. So this could be a cool starting place. And this I just want to be really, a fun, loose kind of start. Not worried too much about, leaving intense marks that I can't do anything with, which is, I guess, can be refreshing after almost always using ink the past couple of years. It's fun to use pencil sometimes. Because there were things that happened last week where, with Atul, who was also an awesome muse, where I was like, whoa, I made the head too long, and just things like I noticed the eyes weren't quite even, and just with a quick kind of preliminary drawing, those kind of things could perhaps have been avoided. But it was still super fun to draw and a great learning experience for me. So that's always worth a lot. And I was just really drawn to this photo. It's just, there's so much awesome stuff to draw, and such a nice contrast, and there's some really soft, subtle things happening, like in the lighting here, and the tilt of the head. There's just a lot of nice stuff to draw here. So I hope you're all going to have an awesome time drawing along. Are you drawing too, Tori? You've done some pretty awesome self-portraits recently. And there were certain things I saw, like the shadow under the nose. That's just like one perfect broad stroke. If you get it right with a broad-edged drawing device, I think that could be really nice. And the shape of the glasses and these shadows under the glasses. The shadow through here, there's so many cool lines, cool shapes. Yes, Tori, totally. Glasses. I think I was talking about that last week as well. And many times the glasses, it's helps so much to find the right place and find your orientation when you're drawing. And Anish is still here. I thought it was really interesting the other week when you said that you learnt to draw top down, and I just wonder about that. If you know the reason why, I'd be really curious to hear. Because as I started here, it's just kind of like wherever looks interesting and whatever catches my eye is just a good place to start for me. So this feels fun and safe to start with the pencil. A totally fine thing to do, and I've only been drawing for 4 minutes, and I already feel like I get a sense of whether things are in the right place or not. And this kind of timed portrait drawing is something that I practice every week, and it's cool to have a few of you here from the Tuesday drawing crew. And I find, yeah, just getting that quick, fun, loose drawing down, it's an awesome foundation for having something worked out where you're going to spend a bit more time on it as well. And this can all just be kind of a loose indication of what's going to happen, because when we come in with ink, if you're also using ink, or whatever you choose to use, as you return to these loose shapes which have been drawn, then you have another opportunity to make your mark in a really conscious way and choose where you want to put things. Hello, Sally. Hello, everyone who's here. If I haven't already said hello to you, hello. It's wonderful to have you here drawing with us or watching. Is anyone excited about Inktober yet? The Inktober 2020 Portrait Challenge is coming up in October. I'm getting excited about it. Being one of the featured artists, I've been choosing some really awesome muses for us to draw together. So it's going to be a really exciting month, I think. And it'll be the most invested I've ever been in Inktober, which is also totally cool, because I've been an Inktober fan for years, even though I haven't really stuck to it, and made it through a whole month. But this time I will. So how's this looking? Does it look like I could just start inking now? Starting to feel a bit like I could. So the soft shadow through here, it's interesting. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to deal with that, but it's really nice. And this is cool, just after a few minutes of drawing. I feel like this is a fun underdrawing to work into. And it was interesting last week when I caught myself at about the half-hour mark, and I was like, oh, there's some strange things happening with my drawing. And this time I'll be able to enter the inking with this kind of sense of place that I already know where these cool shapes belong. So I'm going to do it. I have two different inks with me today. I didn't mention what I'm using yet. I have my favorite paper, and as you can see here, I'm almost through. I'll be able to do 3 more live streams with this paper, and then I'll have to find something else. If anyone has any recommendations for wet medium, something I'll be able to find, I'll be keen to try something out. I'll be interested in some hot press stuff, so maybe if anyone has any hot press paper that they love, let me know, and I can try it out in a live stream. Slap the ink on. Oh, I just slapped the table with my elbow. All right, ink. All right, everybody, inkers, ink, ink, ink. I have a nice brew of Acorn ink. It's especially dark and lovely. And I was collecting acorns today, which is exciting. It's that time of year over here. I'll be working with this, which the last month or so has been my favorite hand-cut broad edge calligraphy drawing pen made from an elder branch. And Acorn ink is one of my favorite inks that I make, and perhaps the most inky ink that I have. So I forgot to pre-soak my pen. There we go. Oh, with my elbow, I just put this comment up. Slap that ink on. I will. And this time I'm going to go for the glasses, I think. They're so cool. I left that kind of undefined over here, so now is the time to define it. And I think something that happened last week too, that I was kind of drawing slowly and carefully. And now that I have this underdrawing, I have like extra confidence to really slap the ink on. I hope my lighting setup's okay. I'm still in the process of getting everything sorted out in the new place. So if you notice any ways I can improve the live streaming experience for you as a viewer, let me know, and maybe I can sort that out. So I think maybe a different lighting setup would be good. But can't let those can't let equipment or the lack of it stop you from doing things. Just go for it. STVKMCO, this is Toria. Maybe you know that already. F. Arovia, Victoria Cherry, a wonderful muse, wonderful artist. This shadow line here, it's really crisp. Both sides, you can see below the glasses how it just kind of blows out. But there's a really nice crisp shadow here, so it's gonna be nice. Dark line. If we're working with oil or color or something, within the shadow there's this really nice area of like saturated redness, which is really cool, where the highlight would be, but in the darkness there's this really nice intense color. So it's nice to observe really interesting color things, but then not have to worry about how to paint them because it's just ink. But still to take a moment to appreciate the beauty wherever we see it. And that's cool just to notice those different subtle things. Yeah, thank you, Dawn. It is so lovely where I am. I posted something on Instagram yesterday or the day before. Just discovered this amazing sandstone staircase just like a couple 100 meters down the road from my house. And it's really quite a magical place here. And so happy that it's acorn time. I actually didn't have any acorns last year, so I was working through my reserves of acorn ink, and this year I'm just gonna collect a lot of them wherever I go. So here's this awesome shadow under the nose, just a really nice line. I was just wondering over at the eye, there are like these different areas of kind of intensity. Maybe the eye's a bit small, despite my preliminary drawing. Oh well. But now that I'm like laying this down, I feel like it should be much darker up here too. This, because there's a kind of comparable intensity to the kind of shadow area. Silash is here. Hello. Cool. Stinner. Don't start a new one. Just put more vinegar in it. It's awesome if it dries out. That stuff is just waiting for more vinegar. So the Stinner's question here for Acorn ink, it's you end up with this kind of milky coffee color. Oh, my phone's still doing things. Hang on. Stop that. Okay. You don't need to see my notifications. So Acorn ink is like, it's like this milky coffee color until you put an iron solution into it, and the iron reacts with the tannin, which is magical to watch. It's just so fun. Got like this jar of milky coffee, and when you put a spoon of this iron solution to it, it just, there's like this cloud of darkness that spreads through and makes it really intense and dark. And for that, you need to have rusty metal things and vinegar. And over an extended period of time, the vinegar and I don't know, you can maybe put salt in it, that will encourage the oxidization process. And once it totally evaporates, you can just let it evaporate, because then it breathes, it keeps oxidizing. Then put more vinegar into it, and then you have your iron solution again. So neglecting it is a totally fine thing to do, Stina. Thank you for asking. It's not lost. It's just, it's still oxidizing. And once you put your vinegar on that, you'll be able to use it. So that's awesome. It is nice and dark, isn't it? It's like, if I spread it out a bit, it would have this kind of gray tone, but it has a, I think it has that intensity of ink as we, conventionally think of it. So I will be making an Acorn ink video to share very soon, because it's Acorn time, and maybe sometime this week I would like to get an ink video up for everyone to see. If you want to do Inktober with natural ink, which I will be doing, I think if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, like, it's the perfect time to make ink right now. Walnut husks, acorns, berries, mushrooms. There's all sorts of cool stuff to make ink with at the moment. Here, just to show you what I was talking about with that grey colour, if I just pull this out here, you can see that grey tone. So this is all still quite wet and quite a loaded line. And if you spread it out, then you can get this really cool grey mid-tone, which is still quite dark. So yeah, it's a nice ink. DLL, I don't know what buckeye is. A buckeye. What is a buckeye? Hi, Wendy. Sally's going to go acorn hunting. Yeah, collect acorns. And if you don't use them all to make ink, you can feed them to animals. So, but I would suggest that everyone starts collecting acorns. They're so good. Catching up on a few comments here. Hilda's using pokeberry ink. Awesome. I actually collected some pokeberries this week, so I'm going to make some too. The acorn ink is water soluble, so you can do like ink washes with it. You can add water to it. I guess you're meaning once you've put it down, are you able then to paint over it or to ink over it? And I've made a few different Acorn inks, and some I did quite a few portraits where I would do a line work portrait and then I would do ink wash over it, and the line remained, so it doesn't totally dissolve in water. But it varies, I guess, depending on the intensity of the colour. Hi, Rick. I'm glad you like to see it. Yeah. So a lot of the natural inks and a lot of the stuff that I made in Ink Naturally was quite transparent. But this is like, this is kind of like the origins of natural ink for me. This and walnut ink were the first inks that I made, and they're both really deliciously dark. So if you've got walnuts or acorns around, then you should definitely be foraging, because they're really good dark inks. And a lot of the stuff, a lot of the more colourful plant inks that I've been making, it's just been like a playground, just discovering all these different colours. But it's great always to return to these really inky inks. Good question. How many acorns do you need to make ink? I don't know, like I would have this many at least, I think. Like a paper bag full, like a sandwich bag. But you can make a lot, and it's also great with the iron solution. I found it's not as prone to getting moldy as some other natural inks, so you can really keep it and use it for a long time. So don't worry about making too much. Once you start using it, you may not want to use anything else. So you can make like a litre of ink or something. I'm not sure, maybe I missed what buckeyes are, I'm not sure. But if they're not poisonous, and look that up, you should always self-educate on poisonous plants. I don't want anyone poisoning themselves because I've made them curious about natural ink. Find out if things are poisonous, and if they're not, then I would just try and make ink with it. All right. I think I've spent a lot of time talking now. Just spend some time drawing. Get the other eye in there as well. A tree nut. I would definitely use it. Do you know if it's an edible nut? That would be interesting. If it's an edible nut, then sure, you could probably use it. But interestingly enough, with walnuts, you use the external husk, so not the actual nut itself. So you can make ink and you can eat the walnuts, because the flesh of the walnut is not useful for ink making, and it's super nutritious and healthy. So you're better off eating your walnuts, but the walnut husks, you're going to love making ink with them. Buckeyes are not edible. This is a cool tip. Fresh walnuts can be frozen and used later. I dry them and use them later. So freezing or drying are good ways to preserve plant matter for later use. And with some inks, I've definitely found it's better to just make as much as you want to use, because they can change color in the jar after a prolonged period of time, and they can get moldy. So I add cloves or clove oil to prevent mold growth, but if you just make it directly for direct use, That's perfect. Can you all hear the music next door, the neighbour's music? I don't know how much you pick up on the microphone, but I can hear the music next door. So hair is it's often a fun playground for inking and drawing, and there's just the shapes in your hair, Tori here, just so cool. But I haven't even drawn your second eye yet, so maybe I'll come back and draw your eye. Oh, that's super interesting. But the buckeyes resemble chestnuts but are toxic, because I recently saw a nut tree and I was like, that looks like chestnuts, but it's not a chestnut. What is it? So that's interesting to know. Thank you for educating and teaching at the same time. Educating yourself by Googling and teaching me and yourself and everyone else here. So buckeyes are toxic, people. Watch out. Yeah, and I tried to avoid making poisonous ink. Don't want to harm anyone. Okay, Tori didn't hear the music, cool. And it's just for me and the neighbors. I'm noticing that I kind of made this eye a bit small and this eye a bit big. I have a chance to fix that a bit. So if you've done an underdrawing, you definitely, have some flexibility and are not stuck to whatever you've drawn, which can be nice. Does anyone have any kind of requests for what I should do during Inktober? Because I'm about to dive into filming and creating my contributions for the Inktober 2020 Portrait Challenge, and if there's anything you'd like in particular to see, or whatever, just let me know. Keeping in mind that I'm going to keep it very dark and inky because it's Inktober. Maybe with a little bit of colour. Abstract portraits. What exactly is an abstract portrait? I have some ideas. A few portraits I've seen that spring to mind, but are you able to put links into the chat here? If so, Sally, if you have any particular abstract portraits that you totally love, drop one in the chat and check it out. So over in this eye, maybe that's why subconsciously I just left it alone. There's a lot happening with like the reflection of the fabric on the lens of the glasses, and then there's the soft shadow underneath. And then there's hard shadows, but there's a hard shadow with a reflection of light from the fabric on it. So it's kind of a bit complex. Maybe that's why I just drifted away from it and decided not to draw it. But we have the power to simplify these decisions for ourselves. And once again, if you really had a lot of time and want to do a totally spot-on, loyal portrait representation of what you're seeing, then that could be a super fun challenge. All the things that are happening on right in that eye. I think this is a bit softer, this eyebrow, but I'm just kind of want to give it some weight and significance here. So it's just such a nice rhythm of shadow shapes, the eyebrow, the lens, the eyelid, the eye, the shadow, the lens, the shadow of the lens, the nose, the mouth. It's just this, and maybe that's what kind of attracted me to this photo. It's just such a cool rhythm of shadow shapes down the face. It's awesome. I think it's really fun to kind of look at things in a way, it's like, why is this so cool? What do I like about this? And if you can become conscious of what it is that you enjoy looking at, and then try to bring that across in the work that you do, I think is a fun challenge. Because you can, it's totally cool to look at something and you're like, wow, that's so cool. But then to take the time to reflect upon what is it that's, why am I attracted towards this arrangement of abstract shapes? What is it that's so cool about this? And of course, in this case, all these, or in any portrait, all these abstract shapes add up to become hopefully the representation of a person, of Tori. There's also cool subtle reflections here in the top lip, but not for me today. And with this like grey tone that I have the possibility, if I had a lot more time, I think I would. This would be great to do with the ink wash to have these like different indications, different levels of grayscale. There's so much cool stuff to explore in this photo. Cool, Kim. Thank you for that. That's helpful. All right. Yeah, I'll do another pen carving video because I think these are such wonderful tools that anyone can make. So I'd be super happy to help you create the perfect pen. Ink washes, yeah. I imagine Arto is going to do some really cool ink washes. But yeah, I like ink washes too. So that's cool. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, Brenda, there's a super short, 1 minute 30 video on YouTube. There's now an Ink Naturally Dylan Sara playlist in the Sketchy channel. And quite a ways down, there's like a 1 minute 30 video where I cut a pen. It's quite brief. In the Ink Naturally class, there's like a 13-minute video about how I sharpen my knife and cut my pens. So if you're in the Ink Naturally class, there's one of the featured posts within the list of classes and stuff. Like the feed for Ink Naturally at the top, there should be a few featured posts, recommended reading, how to cut a pen. That should be in there, but that's something I can definitely cover again for Inktober. So thanks for your input. Yeah, carving pens is just such an awesome thing to do. Like when I discovered these broad edge pens, I was initially using I don't know, some pen that I bought, and then I would kind of went online shopping for broad edge pens, and there are so many. It's like, oh, I want to try them all, and then they cost like 20 euros each. So some of these really cool things, parallel pens and automatic pens, and there are all these different pens. And I used to then use metal nib pens, but being able to make them myself, I can totally experiment with the edge quality, how broad the edges are, and there's no limit to it. Just my time. But something that's fun to do while the kids are playing outside. I can just cut pens. And I haven't forgotten that some people asked if I would sell pens, and yes, still in the process of settling into the new home, but I am. This week I saw my stash of pens, and I was like, yeah, soon I'll get some information up on those for anyone who would like to purchase a pen from me. There are some weird restrictions on shipping packages to the US at the moment, which is super inconvenient because of Corona, apparently. But if you pay premium rates, then your packages obviously aren't a Corona risk. At the moment, it costs 50 euros to send the package to the States instead of 5. This is really nice, this dark shape from the chin down. Just kind of enjoy the flow of this at the moment, and then the way the shadow is wrapping up the side of the head. So cool. Good question, Stina. When did you stop picking cherry sap? I use cherry sap as a binder for my inks, and it's important not to overdo it. And with all things with natural inks, you need to really, don't overdo it, to take from the abundance of nature, but not to harm these wonderful plants and beings who are supplying us with these natural art supplies. So the trees, I guess any tree which is producing a lot of sap, like acacia or cherry trees, gum arabic comes from acacia. For winter, they need to be protected, right? Because they're more susceptible, I guess, to illness and stuff in winter. So they'll produce a lot of sap during the rainy times, and it slows down a bit. And so towards winter, I would not be foraging cherry sap anymore. So maybe sometimes there'll be so much of it, like just extruding from the tree, that you could cut some off, and the wound of the tree would still be sealed by the sap. Because sometimes there's just really strange shapes, like when it's rained a lot, that it'll just push out a lot of sap, and then you could cut some sap off without risking anything to the tree. Oh, that's cool. I see a book in my future. Ah, cool. I do not have a book yet, but that's something. I think a few weeks back I was talking about a kind of book idea that I had. So thank you. Follow me on Instagram. Find out when I come up with a book. It's not on the cards at the moment, but maybe in the future. That said, there are a lot of cool books out there already, but I have some cool ideas too. Yeah, the cherry sap and the tree's resistance. So I think in winter they're really susceptible. I have not noticed any adverse effect that I've had on the moment, but I think basically the end of summer, start of autumn, I think that's the time for me. I feel like that's the right time to stop, because summer is the time where the trees are pushing through all this sap, and they're like, feeding the fruit, and all this sap is flowing through the tree. And then in autumn, as it starts to recede, and you see that in the trees, there's the lighting outside is really cool at the moment. And I can see a cherry tree with leaves that are starting to turn red. So yeah, as that inward energy where the trees are no longer prolifically putting out all this life, and when they're starting to withdraw, that feels like the right time to stop. Because I know they're still producing sap, so they can seal up their wounds and stuff. But I think that's a pretty clear kind of seasonal visual indication that the time has passed this year for collecting cherry sap. So I hope you've found some nice cherry sap in the past months. Oh, cool. I'm sure there's awesome stuff in the desert that you could use. DLL. And I would love to know all about it. Maybe even visit someday. Like mineral pigments, earth, maybe, I don't know, what kind of plants are growing there. Is there anything in abundance growing in the desert where you are? Some Mojave Desert. I guess there would be seasons of abundance, like after a rain, where maybe it doesn't rain for years and years and years, and then everything explodes. And that would probably be the time to forage for plant matter. But otherwise, I think there'd definitely be like different sands and earth pigments and I've got about 12 minutes left. I was just thinking, I think this would be perfect once this is dried to do some subtle kind of ink wash stuff with these really nice shadows over here. I don't think it's time for it right now in this session, but I'm really enjoying this drawing. I think it would be really cool to combine this really strong contrast with some subtle ink wash. Thank you for volunteering to edit my book, Dawn. Awesome. Thank you for joining us, Sally. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah. Yucca if those are the same yucca trees, or yucca, I don't know how you pronounce it, but if that's the same that grow where I grew up in Australia, maybe it's a totally different plant, I don't know. But we also had these yucca trees, and they had this amazing black sap. You could probably use that as a binder, I reckon. That'd be really cool. I have not yet returned to Australia with ink making awareness. I don't get back there very often, but I would love to someday, and to just explore in different regions, different climates, the kind of potentials of making ink, because it's such a cool way just to connect to the environment and the world that we live in, and have that inform and flow into the art that we make. I think it's such a beautiful thing to have that intimate knowledge of your art supplies and of your surroundings in nature. And like, this doesn't have to be a drawing of an oak tree or acorns, but just knowing the places where these acorns grew, and the times that I spent gathering them with my kids, and especially if it's your home, if it's where you live, it's just such a wonderful way to really intimately connect to your home and get to make some really cool art supplies with it. I was informed this week that there's now an evergreen discount code if you want to get the Ink Naturally class on Sketchy. You can put in the coupon code Ink Naturally, all together, capitals, and then you get 40% off any second class, which is really cool. So you could sign up for Ink Naturally, use the Ink Naturally code, and get 40% off Inktober, or anything else in the entire range of Sketchy classes. So that's all capital Ink Naturally, one word. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Yeah, that's right. My memory served me correctly. So yeah, if you haven't already, sign up for Ink Naturally and get 40% off another class. And as soon as Inktober is done, it'll be the next round of Ink Naturally. So I'm cooking up all these new ideas for the next class, the next installment of Ink Naturally, and having just moved, and it being an inky time of the year, I'm really excited about what I'll be able to share with you all. Right, at the moment, I'm not really strategically, consciously choosing what to focus on, but just that top edge, these cool shapes in the hair, it's kind of enclosing the portrait a bit here. We have a few more minutes. How's everyone going with their Tory portrait? Juniper trees, coming back to that, DLL. I think juniper berries, I'm sure you can make ink with juniper berries, if it's the same juniper that I'm thinking of. A lot of those plants, I don't know what they are that you mentioned. Yes. Thank you, Stina. I was thinking about that too, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to be forageable from now up until November. Because I've just, the last few years, I've kind of marveled at the coincidence of how Inktober is a wonderful ink making month. September, October are really great for ink making and foraging. So that's good. I will, that's a good idea. I'll give you a heads up of what you should start foraging. Thanks, Tina. I'll let you know what I'm foraging. Yeah, cool, Trudy. Cutting corners is good. Use whatever you have. So I'm not totally dogmatic about natural ink making and that everyone should be using natural ink. I just think it's totally awesome. I love it on so many levels. Okay, here I'm just gonna, the last few minutes, add some fine, and this is another thing that I totally love about these broad edge drawing tools. Add some fine lines here, like I had this bit of vertical hatching over here. And a few areas where I think, like here there's just kind of this dark blob of ink, and just kind of adding some, is that feathering? Just some fine lines kind of extruding from that it softens the edges of it, and it's a kind of fun thing to do. And it's an interesting way to deal with these shadow shapes over here as well, because like below, you have to make sure that's not too loaded with ink. Here the shadow side of the face. It's like nice soft shadow, but it's quite dark compared to the light side of the face. That's cool. Yeah, the bottom edge of the lens, the way this face is kind of smushed up, the skin is kind of, there's this indentation pressing down towards there. Oh, cool. That's awesome. Tori, I'm glad you've been looking out for acorns. It's a good thing to be looking out for. Trudy, there will be a clip of me foraging sometime soon, because I want to share, hopefully this week I'll get it done, get an ink making video up for anyone who wants to use natural ink in Inktober. Acorns would be perfect, I guess. Start collecting rusty things too, because you're going to need some iron to put in your inks. I would consider this fairly slow drying, like compared to inks, like store-bought inks that I have used. I'd say it takes a bit longer to dry. And just like 5 minutes before the live stream started, I was thinking something I would like to do is to make a fast drying ink so I can fill it into my fountain pens, take it with me, because this is not necessarily like inking on the fly, sitting on the train, whipping out your natural inks. You kind of need a place to put your jar and things to clean and wash with. So I want to make an ink that I can put into my fountain pens. And if this was really well filtered and had an alcohol instead of a water base, which would evaporate super fast, I think could make some really amazing fast drying inks. So in answer to your question, yeah, I'd say this is slow drying, but it's also possible to make fast drying inks, which I want to get into. Maybe that will be in the next Ink Naturally. I think it'll be a really cool thing to cover. A cool thing for me to experiment with and share with you all. Oh, that's cool. How would you render the shadows on the pillow she's laying on? With the same kind of vertical hatching, I reckon, in this case. Oh, it's already time. And it's important when doing this hatching stuff to make sure you don't have too much ink touching it to the inside of the jar to get the excess ink off, because you want to do this nice, soft, gentle hatching here, and then you've got this big blob of ink, something you kind of want to avoid. Or just tapping off the ink into the shadows, because that's something with the stick pens or with any nib pen. You want to make sure you don't have like an excess of ink when you're doing really fine stuff. But yeah, the shadows on the pillow, I'd say, pretty similar to this. I think just a bit of vertical hatching. Tori is awesome with hatching. Check out some Tori's hatching. Maybe that'd be a good way to do it. Oh yeah, no problem, Jordan. No background message. Favorite fountain pen. I have one which was just like a school grade student's pen by Herlitz, a German brand, and they have these plastic cartridges that you can put into the pen, and they can be refilled. And that's the one I've done a lot of my like hatchy inking stuff with, and it's inexpensive. Another one is like the Faber-Castell calligraphy pen, and maybe it would be really nice to have a really nice calligraphy pen, but I think they have served me really well, and I think they're like for a set with 3 nibs, like $20 or something. Faber-Castell or Herlitz. I'm not sure if Herlitz, if you can get that in the States. And it was like just a pen I got in the supermarket, and I fell in love with it. Thank you, Kim. Yeah, so this is about time for bed. I see there. I could keep going with this, and maybe just to respond to that that hatching thing. Oh, here's a bit much ink. Get rid of that, because I think that was a really interesting question. How do you, with ink, which is such an intense dark medium, how do you try to convey something soft and gentle? And I think just like this. So that's, I could keep going on this drawing much longer, but I think that kind of gentle hatching would be a really a good way to solve that shading issue with no edge to the shadow. Like, and that's here we've got these really hard defined edges, and these shadows are so soft. I would just not outline them at all. And I think that like the spacing of the hatching, there's no outline. It just implies that kind of softness, I think. And this, yeah, maybe I'll do some ink wash into this sometime, because there's like the highlight here. There's so many interesting things happening here. And our time for today has come to an end. I can hear that I'm needed downstairs. My kids are not asleep yet, and it's Icon's birthday tomorrow, and there's still so much to do. So Thank you all so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure drawing with you and for you. Thank you, Tori, for this awesome photo, and thanks for joining us. It's super nice. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. Come back next week. Collect acorns. Okay, Uta asked a great question. Okay, that's a cool question. So this will be the final question. I've finished drawing. Thanks for joining me. You will need to... this is something interesting that Stina raised, because she has like her grandfather's fountain pen, and so you wouldn't want to necessarily put an ink with iron in it. Walnut ink would be good, because it's also really dark, so dark brown. Walnut ink would be great because there's no iron in it. These cheap supermarket pens, fountain pens, like I would be happy to put my Acorn ink into it, and I think as long as they stay in use and the ink keeps flowing, they probably don't corrode very fast. But if you have a really high-grade fountain pen, I wouldn't put anything with iron in it because it's corrosive. But you can make really other lovely natural inks that don't have any in there. I think they'll be fine to use in a fountain pen. So I hope that addresses that question. And once again, thank you everyone for joining. Hit the like button if you liked this. Come back next week and use the hashtag InkNaturally and tag me on Instagram when you share your work, because I would love to see what you've all done. And yeah, I think that's it for now. So once again, many thanks, and have a wonderful week. Take care of each other and take care of yourself. And I hope to hear from you, see you soon, maybe see you on Tuesday if you're going to come draw with us. You can check that out on Instagram, and otherwise see you here next week for more live ink portraits. Yeah, thank you. Farewell.